Hello all, welcome back. So I had a great conversation with Mr. Indra Reddy. He's very close friend of mine and he's more like a family person to me. And he's one of the most hardworking people you will find in the IT industry. So we had a conversation about how he got into DevOps from fresher and how he transformed his career from India and how he went to USA. And you will see all about his career transformation and DevOps stuff that he is currently working on, some tools, and a lot of good conversation that we had. So if you want to switch around, you can find the timestamps in the description. So you can comment here and Indra will personally answer your questions in the comment section. But if you want to talk to him personally, you can reach out to him over his LinkedIn, and his LinkedIn is in the description. I hope you all will enjoy this video. Hey Indra, welcome to this session and thank you for joining this session and spending your time to answer some of my good questions on how people can go to US or how they can get into DevOps or cloud. And I hope this session is going to be super helpful for all my subscribers and anybody who is watching this channel for the first time. Thanks again for joining the session. So before we get into the questions, why don't you introduce yourself?
Yeah, JK. So first of all, thank you very much for the opportunity to talk to your subscribers and share my story. So I'm Indra Reddy. So I recently graduated and currently working as cloud and DevOps engineer for about one and a half years here in Texas area. So prior to that, I also worked back in India as again cloud and DevOps engineer. So that's how I know GK. So he was my teammate, he was my mentor, and he was also my manager for some time.
Yeah. Thank you, Indra. So before you actually came to US, right, or went to US and you worked there, how did you get into DevOps? Like, because I know when you came from your college to the company, you were fresher at that time, right? And most of the freshers, they are not hired for a DevOps engineer or a cloud engineer. So they are hired as a software developer, or they are hired specifically for some work in the project, right? Or in a team.
That's right.
But how your transformation into a DevOps engineer has happened actually?
Yeah, so basically, even I joined the company as a software developer when I joined as a fresher. So yeah, to begin with, it all started in the final year of my BTech. So I got chance to work with Verizon. So the recruitment was through a pool campus. It was not exactly off campus or on campus, but it was like pool campus. And the interview was not exactly for a DevOps role. It was for a software development role. And the questions were more of algorithms or on the general aptitude and those sort of things, like generally what you see with the fresher interviews, right? Yeah. So but then later, once I joined the company, for some reason software development was a bit intimidating to me. You know that better than me, GK. When I was in your team.
Yeah.
Right. So and then I felt DevOps and cloud is my cup of tea. And and luckily I had that company, or that group of people who are willing to share the knowledge and mentor me, especially you, right? So that's how I moved to DevOps from programming. And I believe if you have good mentors and good team who are willing to share the knowledge, it's easy to transition from one technology to other.
Okay, cool. Thank you. And so common question that I get from my subscribers is that after the college, you study, like for example, if you're from IT background, you study a lot of programming in your college, right? Or even from mechanical background, they might have some software programming at some stage, maybe one subject or something. So for them to come into DevOps, do you recommend them to start learning DevOps from third year or fourth year of their college and then apply for DevOps job if there is any DevOps job? Or do you recommend them to be a good programmer initially and then get into DevOps?
Yeah, Jika, so in my case, it was a bit different because I was lucky to get a team like that.
Right.
But in general, I would suggest to have some sort of experience that could be like, even programming or software development experience, right?
Right.
It would always help to have some experience before moving to DevOps and cloud, especially
Mhm.
for freshers, right?
Okay.
Or like, based on my experience, I saw uh, people generally ask for 4 to 5 years, like, or at least 3 to 4 years of experience,
Right.
going to the JDs of DevOps roles.
Right. So 3 to 4 years,
So
it can be of any IT experience in general, right?
yeah, I think that is right. Yeah, I think that is right.
Okay. Okay.
And I would suggest, like, maybe doing some at least some projects on their own, like, on setting up some architecture in cloud or setting
Mhm.
up some pipeline. That would help them to come up with a story during the interview. So yeah.
Right. Right. Okay. Okay. So as a DevOps engineer currently, right, you're working in a huge company in US. So how does your day typically look like as a DevOps engineer?
So the current role I'm working in GK involves a lot of application migration from on-prem to cloud. So during my like, typical day, I would spend my time in coming up with design diagrams, or like, uh, like adding more to the design diagram of the applications which are supposed to migrate to cloud,
Mhm.
along with my team, of course, and then getting approvals from the compliance and getting requirements, like, requirement gathering from multiple teams, and
Yeah.
actually start provisioning, or like, provisioning the
Infrastructure.
resources using
Yeah.
infrastructure as code, like Terraform or
Right.
CloudFormation templates, right? And this process is very iterative. And as we migrate the application, like, by each module, it's not like whole application can be
Right.
migrated at once, right? So
Yeah.
so this iterative as we migrate each module one by one. And yeah, so that's when I use a lot of DevOps tools and technologies like Terraform, CI/CD tool, like, the CI/CD integration tools.
Before
Like
we get
GitLab.
into that, actually, Indra, so my next
Yeah.
question is mostly on that. So what skills, or like what tools one have to learn to get into DevOps, or what are the most commonly used tools in your case that you use in your day-to-day work as a DevOps engineer, or even skills for that matter?
I felt DevOps was like R&D initially,
Mm.
like,
Okay.
where we need to explore a lot of tools and technologies, because not every tool remains like, stays forever.
Yeah.
So yeah, so if you're somebody who likes doing the exploration part, like, the R&D stuff, you definitely like DevOps, I feel. So having said that, if you ask me about the tools or technologies, so based on my experience and based on the job descriptions I saw recently, I would say containerization and, like, using Docker, Kubernetes is really essential in
Mm.
recent times. And at least expertise in one cloud technologies, either it could be AWS, Azure, or GCP.
Yep.
Yeah, so Ansible as well, but I see it's Ansible is being asked a little less compared to, like, previous years.
Hmm.
um, and also I would recommend having basic knowledge of networking and principles of monitoring and alerting and setting up monitoring and alerting tools. um, and last but not least, the scripting languages.
Okay.
It always help if you know more than one, like Shell, Python, or Golang.
Yeah.
But I think Shell and Python is like kind of mandatory now. Yeah.
Okay. Thanks for saying that, because that's again another common question that a lot of people have, is that people are intimidated, obviously, like you are intimidated in the case of programming languages. So they're scared to, obviously, that they think programming is little difficult, or even scripting is little difficult, right? So for them, what is your suggestion? Is it like you have to write or learn programming language to an extent of writing an application or a software, or how does actually scripting work in DevOps according to you?
So when it comes to programming or scripting, you need not worry much about that, because it is not as intimidating as what a application developer would do, right?
Yeah.
We would not build applications, right? So it is more of coming up with the scripts which would help in automation.
Right.
And the basic use cases that I saw was like, making some calls to the APIs, to the REST APIs, and handling the response, parsing the response, and like, doing all sorts of like,
I agree with you on that part, because even I have seen, as a DevOps engineer, mostly you would be involved in writing the Lambda functions or the cloud functions, so which involve using the libraries of the code libraries of the services in cloud, consuming the libraries in the form of REST APIs or gRPC, and then parsing that, and then getting the output and automating certain tasks, right? So it's not, like you said, that you have to know algorithms to come up with a logic, or break your head to come up with the logic to write a application code. Does that seems right
yeah.
according to you, as far as scripting
I
is
mean,
concerned?
I would definitely, yeah, I would definitely,
Okay.
like, I would agree with that. And some other use cases, like, relevant use cases are connecting to a DB, and then bootstrapping it, like with all the user IDs, or like, with the roles and permissions. So that's like, one of the typical use case. And other would be, like you said, coming up with some Lambda scripts.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and also you will come across shell scripting while you write user data while provisioning the EC2 instances, or like,
Right.
yeah. So
Okay.
I would say, yeah, I would say scripting, it's not that like,
Difficult.
intense scripting, or yeah,
Yeah.
application development.
Okay,
Yeah.
cool. So, but basically, for anybody who wants to get into cloud, they should know scripting, or at least Shell or Python scripting, according to you, right?
Yeah, that is right.
Okay.
Shell and Python, yeah, sort of both, or like, looks like mandatory going through the JDs
Okay.
in recent times.
Okay. So this is the fun question. And what is your favorite cloud?
So right from beginning of my career, I've been working on cloud, on AWS cloud.
Mm-hmm.
I learned a bit of GCP and Azure.
Okay.
Um, yeah, I started learning, like, watching your videos.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but because I worked mostly on AWS, I like working on it, and yeah, I can say, I mean, you can say that it is my favorite cloud.
So when you were actually trying to apply to some companies, or when you were reaching out to some companies as a DevOps engineer, right? Uh, what have you seen more? Like, were they asking more about AWS, GCP, Azure, or like what proportion of cloud was used more in their JDs?
Yeah, so I applied to like, a lot of job openings, probably like a couple of years back. So at the
Okay.
time, yeah, at the time it was, yeah, I would say AWS
Right. Right.
was the one I saw in most of the JDs. And then comes, I think, Azure, and then
Okay.
GCP. Yeah,
Okay.
that's the order I saw. Yeah.
Okay. So now coming to your career transformation. So you have worked in India. So I don't know what made you to go to US, because you are also earning decent money in India as well, at your experience in the company. So why did you take that step of going to US? And then the transformation itself is huge, right? Like from around 8 lakhs per annum to approximately 90 lakhs per annum. So what is your advice to the people who want to do that, or who wants to go to US? And how did you actually go to US?
Yeah, JK. So the thought of going to US for me arise from, like, is because most of my colleagues moved to US, like, who are in my team, like, you, Preetham, and like,
Yeah.
other colleagues. So as a fresher, I didn't get chance to like, go to on-site, like, or
Right.
nobody was sponsoring me visa, right? So masters was the gateway for me.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that's a major reason. why I
Okay.
wanted to come to US. Yeah, so if you want to come to US and do master's degree here,
Mm-hmm.
I would say just be prepared for that. Do a lot of homework on, like, what major you want to graduate in,
Yeah.
and also, like, what courses are part of those majors, and, like, do a lot of homework on the universities that you want to graduate in. um, there are a lot of Facebook groups where you can meet seniors and just keep in touch with them about the university and the job opportunities after, like, you graduate from the university. So one thing what I saw with, like, many of my friends is that they went for a particular major or college
Okay.
just because their friends, like, they took
Right.
that major, right? And then after, or like during graduation, I saw them, like, regretting that. So I
Hmm.
would strongly recommend doing a lot of homework before you go to any
Okay.
university. Yeah, and one other thing is, once you are here in US, one thing I can say for sure is you would be dragged out of your comfort zone. So just be prepared for that.
And do you advise the freshers after they come out of the college to go to US to do their masters, or do you suggest them to take your path, like work for some years in India and then go to US?
um, yeah, I would suggest to have at least some sort of experience in India.
Okay. Okay.
I mean, the reason I'm saying this is because most of the opportunities in US, I saw, like, they were asking for experience, even for some entry level roles. Surprisingly, they ask
Okay.
for experience.
Okay. Okay. So when you are going to US, and mostly I think what I've seen in US is that, when you have niche skills like DevOps or cloud or data science, data engineering, or any such skills, right? Hot skills in the market, which are highly paid in US. So do you recommend them to take or learn those things before they go to US in India, or just go do masters and then learn there itself?
Um, it would always benefit if you have some introduction to that, at least. So for, say, in my case, my master's was mostly on, like, it was on business analytics and information systems, so it was
Okay.
mostly I mean, so it mostly has data science courses in it.
Yeah.
So I went to institute back in India for learning, like, a bit of data science.
Okay.
um, yeah, so at least that helped me in knowing, like, what is the flavor of working in data science roles, or, like, the projects. um, and yeah, so I would recommend doing some courses, like, at least beginner courses in India.
Okay.
So the other thing I want to add here is, unlike in India, you won't be spoon fed in the universities in US. So you should be working on, like, your projects. You should be learning on your own.
So finally, this is a tricky question. I'm not going to ask you the current salary that you're making in US exactly, but what is a typical range of a DevOps engineer or a cloud engineer would make? What is the range in US?
Yeah, okay. So I exactly cannot disclose my salary, right?
Okay.
But
Yep.
what I can say is, any guy with around my experience, like 4 to 5 years of experience in cloud and DevOps,
Mm-hmm.
here in Texas area would make anywhere between, I think, 100 to 130K
Okay. As a base.
as a base,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay. That's great. So Indra, before we conclude this session, so far you have answered a lot of good questions. So do you have any final thoughts?
I mean, personally, after I moved out of your team, right?
Yeah.
And then when I saw you starting this channel, I felt very happy, right?
Thank you.
So, that way I'm still learning a lot of things, which, like, is helping me immensely even now. So I hope this conversation would help at least a few of your subscribers.
Yep.
And please keep making more awesome videos like this.
Thank you, Indra. Thank you so much, Indra, for patiently answering all the questions. And I hope a lot of these questions would be helpful for people who want to understand different things about DevOps, cloud, and as well as going to US. But if anybody have any questions on anything else beyond which I haven't asked to Indra, feel free to reach out to his LinkedIn. I'm going to paste the link in the description. Feel free to reach out to him and he will help you with anything specifically on DevOps, cloud, or any other questions that you have career wise, or if you want to go to US. So thanks again, Indra. Thank you so much for joining the session. Take care. Bye.